welcome to Hodge, Podge, Australia. Today we're making this really awesome back to school cake. I apologise in advance, I have a cold, so my voice is a little croaky. But the first thing we're going to want to do is make the books so that they have a bit of time to dry. Now, I haven't shown you the cake today. You've seen me cover a cake before. The cake I'm using is a 2-tier cake, crumb coated with buttercream with a layer of buttercream in the middle and covered in white fondant. If you'd like to see how to do that, there are links below to some of my other videos where I have covered a cake. Getting back to our books, as you see, I have done 3 balls of white fondant and we're just pressing them into rectangular shapes. Now, to do the cover for our books, we just need to pick our colours. I've gone with blue, green and a darker blue. It was supposed to be purple, but it looks a bit more blue. Then you're going to want to roll it out into a thin strip. Now, you don't actually want it too thin, so as you can see, I'm going to double it over and I'm going to roll it out again till I'm happy with the thickness of the book. When you are happy with the thickness of the cover, what you need to do is just give it a bit of a trim, getting a pizza cutter, and you're going to put a piece of your white rectangle onto the edge of your cover, then just trimming it down so that it only slightly overlaps the white piece, because you don't want the sides of the book cover to sag when you have it up. So as you can see, I'm just taking a little bit off the side, and unfortunately my camera does cut out because it ran out of battery. But you're just going to want to fold the top of that book over onto the white and then put it aside to dry. So we're going to move on to the pencils. I do apologise about the camera cutting out, but getting on to the pencils. I have started with red, as you can see on the side, and measuring my cake. My cake is 6 centimetres high for the height of the pencils before I add the tip on. So I am going to want to make lots of these little wormy type, yes, it's a professional term, wormy type fondant strips, and they're going to want to be no longer than 6 centimetres, but I'm also going to do some in smaller because we want some that are the full length of pencil, and then we want some smaller pencils. So you're going to want, well, on my cake, if it's an 8-inch cake, you are going to want 65 pencils. That's right, 65 pencils. But I would suggest doing them in batches, because it's actually easier to stick the pencil onto the cake when it is still floppy than it is when it is dry. As you can see here, I have some ivory coloured fondant, which I've just used white and put a little bit of ivory colouring into it, so you don't go and buying a whole batch, just use some coloured white. And I have shaped it into a teardrop shape by rolling it into a ball and then using my finger to taper the end off into a teardrop. I have then stuck it onto the top of one of my wormy pieces, as I mentioned before, and I'm just smoothing down the edges, and damn you, I'm out of shot, but I'm just smoothing it down so it looks like one whole piece. And then thank you so much, Woodland Bakery on YouTube. There is a link below. You can click on and have a look at their wonderful videos, but they gave me this tip of dipping the edge of the fondant into some chocolate, melted chocolate, and then it looks like lead. So it's a fantastic tip. Thank you again, Woodland Bakery, and I apologise again for my voice. As you can see there, I am now going to simply stick that onto the side of my cake, and you're just going to do this over and over in the different shapes. I went with blue, green, red and yellow. I didn't go with any particular pattern in my pencils because I wanted it to look haphazard and random, and just going with different shapes. Moving on to the backpack. You are going to want another cube of white fondant, and then again, using our lovely hands because they're such useful instruments, we're going to shape this into a rectangle, and then using our finger, as you can see, I'm just going to press down the front of the backpack. So it's going to form like your front pouch on a backpack. Pressing that down, and then we're going to roll out some red fondant and we're going to cover over that backpack when we're happy with the shape. As you can see here, it's not a lot of red fondant that you need. I could have even gone with less, but I like to err on the side of caution. So wrapping that around and then using your fingers to smooth off any joins, you're going to cover that backpack in the red fondant, and then you can start adding on your embellishments. Decided to use grey for my accessories on my bag. I've just used white fondant, which I have coloured using black fondant colour, but at first I'm going to add some accessories to the side of the bag. So not really accessories, I suppose, just a bit of decoration so that it stands out a bit more. I suppose you could consider that to be a drink pouch, or just an extra little pocket for a phone these days. Probably they have in school bags, but we're going to do that again on the other side. So you can Decorate these bags up any way you want with whatever accessories that you want. I'm going with a nice grey embellishment. Now, with the straps, they're very easy. It's just a bit of grey fondant rolled out and cut into 2 strips, as you would imagine. What you can do is just place them onto the back of the backpack where your straps normally go on a backpack, and to get them to dry out into the position of out, so it looks like you can sling it over your shoulder, get a little piece of tissue. So you don't need a whole tissue because that would be too big. So break your tissue into a bit of a section, roll it up and place it underneath the straps in the middle there, and then connect it to the bottom of your fondant backpack and leave it aside to dry. And those straps will dry in that position, and you can then take the tissue out at the end and they will be sitting out on your backpack. It's very effective and a nice simple little trick. So just finishing off the decoration of my backpack, I am then going to put that aside to dry a bit before we add it to the top of the cake. It's time to get back to our books. They have dried enough to get our AmeriColor pen out, and we are going to write our subjects on the side of our books. So let's go with maths, English and science. So using the AmeriColor edible marker, it's just simple enough to get out your penmanship if you have any. I seem to be lacking in it, but at least my printing is legible, I suppose. I would prefer it to be nicer, but it is what it is. So let's label our books, and then we can add them onto the top of our cake also. Here are science and English all done. Let's pull over our cake and we can stack a couple of the books and place the other one on its side. And while I decide which side I want to put the book on, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down in the corner there and subscribe to us here at Hodge Podge Australia. We upload twice a week, cakes, bakes and yummy makes. So make sure you keep in tune with what we are doing over here at Hodge Podge Australia. It's now time to place our backpack on, and look at that, pull out the tissue and it's sitting nice and firm. So placing our backpack on top of the cake, it just needs a little bit more up the top as you can see, and all of our pencils around the side. So let's add a ruler. Nice and easy, completely simple. Grab some more of that grey fondant. It's excellent for using up leftovers. Roll it out into a rectangle, give it a bit of a trim off, and then just add some markings of where you would have numbers. Now, if you have really good penmanship, you could write the numbers on this ruler, but my penmanship is not that great. It's a small ruler, and I can't write that small in felt. But I'm sure other people can. So let's create a ruler and add it to our cake. I also cut out some ABC letters, just using stencils and some more of our colours, just to finish off the top of our back to school cake. This is a labour-intensive cake, but it is totally worth it. I am so thrilled with the results. I love all the pencils around the side. I love the colours. You've got some primary colours in there, and then you've also got some green. But I love the books and the backpack and the ruler and just the whole feel of this cake. It's just wonderful. I'm so happy with it, and I'm sorry, I'm going to give myself props, but this really was a labour-intensive cake, but I'm so thrilled with the results. Please drop us a line if you like our back to school cake. If there's other cakes you would like to see, I'd love to see a thumbs up on this one. I'm so proud of it. Hit the subscribe button to keep up to date with what Hodge Podge Australia is doing, and we do hope to see you again real soon.